Good evening, Internet, and welcome back to Kenter at Your Own Risk, episode 65, where Kent, Kevin, and Chris are going to be talking about House of the Dragon, season 2, episode 5, The Regent, or Regent. It's been a little bit longer since the last one we've done, but it's still been a relatively busy week for me. I just got back from family reunion on my dad's side. It was a trip up to Virginia and back in a long weekend. I am tired. Outside of that, I'm doing good. How about you guys?
I'm doing pretty good. I just got out of work, and I have been watching a bunch of Lost with my free time, and yeah.
I just baked some cookies.
Damn.
And they're pretty good.
Damn.
Did you see the pictures, Kevin? Well, the picture.
Yes, I did. The cookies.
Yeah. They're pretty good, man. I'm happy. I'm happy to have a little convection oven because, you don't have to heat up the whole fucking house when especially in the summertime. Nobody wants to use an oven unless you have like central air. So just having a little convection oven, living alone. I mean, who needs? I don't need more than 6 cookies. I mean, I could eat more, but I'm not that much of a fat fuck anymore, so 6 is good. It's a good number. And that's what I've been up to. So, all right. I guess we will get on with this this particular episode, Regent. And now I want to say the Regent, now that Chris has said it. All right. So we have an opening with Corlys looking sad, walking to his throne. Rhaenyra looking up to the sky, very sad. And I don't know, that took a good minute. Next up, we end up in King's Landing, and they have the head of Meleese being like paraded around through the city streets. And it's, honestly, it's quite the sight. The crowd is very... The city folk crowd, whatever, they're kind of like in a weird hushed awe. And I, my note was like, I wasn't sure if that was the reaction that, they were hoping for. Cole wonders, if the folks even realized that they won. Gwaine calls it a weird victory. At this point, I must admit, I kind of want more Gwaine on my screen, and I can't believe I'm at this point, but yes, I want more Gwaine. Hugh gets close when the head goes by. Some kid's like, oh, we thought dragons were gods, and Hugh's just like, nah, they're just meat. We see the rat catchers, they're still hanging. Alicent and Aemond, they look on from high up, like on some building, balcony, whatever. Aemond's looking stoic. Alicent notices that he has his brother's dagger. We also see the cart that's hauling Aegon. And my first question here is, was this the most direct route to get his body in there? Like, is there not a back way rather than parading, like, your severely injured king throughout the streets? I don't know, it just seemed kind of weird. Like, I feel like there's definitely back ways in where you could have brought Aegon in. Am I wrong? Chris, help me out here.
No, I mean, it's a crispy critter fucking decision.
He makes great decisions, man. I'm all for it. What'd you think about this whole thing, Chris? Like, was it a good idea to parade Meleese's head around? Like, was this whole pomp and circumstance really a good idea?
I mean, maybe I was just a little out of tune on what I expected, but I would have expected dragons to have died before this. I mean, obviously they did because, like, they have fucking skulls inside, King's Landing and Dragonstone. So I I'm not getting why it's a big deal that a dragon died and that they were parading it through the streets. Maybe that's just me. But
it almost seems like these guys are really new to this idea of like how to do this, right? Maybe like.
Well, I mean, not it's like taking something that you never would have expected being an issue in the first place, and now all of a sudden it's a big fucking issue.
Sure.
So I mean, that's where I come. Like, I personally wouldn't have thought it was a big deal, but apparently all of the citizens of King's Landing do think it's a big deal.
Indeed.
Although I did like Hugh's line of, no, that's just me.
Like, has there ever been talk of like people eating dragon in the books, Chris?
Not that I can remember, but it's been a while since I've read them. So
yeah, all right. Kevin, what'd you think?
Yeah, I'm with you on the Aegon thing. I didn't really think of it. I thought it was. So I thought that Aegon died from the last episode. So and I'm guessing everyone else knew. You guys both knew that Aegon probably wasn't dead.
Correct.
And actually asked my girlfriend if she thought Aegon was dead, and she said she didn't think that he was either. So I just thought that maybe it was like a misdirection of the show. Now, that his, if they're bringing him through with the dragon head, that he's probably dead. And
I mean, my biggest question about that scene was the fact that the king is injured and they're carting him around in what is effectively like an open air coffin instead of like on a litter with like healing priests already attending to him, whatever maesters would have been on the march with the army. Instead they just have him like in a fucking coffin, like here's king in a box.
It was sort of
it's like a Lonely Island song.
It was sort of like kind of like when they brought Aegon's son with the stitched up neck.
Right. Like, there was no sense of urgency to get Aegon's ass to the castle and, like, bring him to the quote-unquote, emergency rooms for all intents and purposes. Like, there was just no sense of urgency. It was like, well, he's not going to get any better or any worse, so let's just take it nice and slow, I guess. It was so weird to me.
If that didn't kill him, he'll be all right.
Kevin, you thinking that he was dead, I'll tell you, I used to watch a show called Wentworth, and there was one scene, I don't know, it was probably like at the end of season 3, and there was a death scene, and I guess I was like the only person watching that didn't quite pick up that it was a death scene, so I kind of just like lived in denial for like the whole thing until like they came back for the next season, and they're like, oh, this character's dead. I was like, oh shit, like, I was too stupid to pick up, like, I just thought, like, we get so used to TV shows kind of faking us out at the end that I just thought that the person lived, but no, I was dead wrong, and that just completely flipped my world upside down, so we all get it wrong. Alright. Oh, go.
Oh, and the dragon thing, I can kind of get it. It's like their world has been like, they've believed for so long that dragons are gods or these, untouchable, unfallible creatures, and you would think that they would be stoked, like the military or the council, that they have a dragon's head and they're waving it around, but people are not pumped about it because like their whole world is kind of like crashing down, and these are like city folk. I don't know how well read or how many dragons these people have actually seen outside of.
Right. And these are probably mostly relatively uneducated people, So it's gotta be weird. I don't know. It's interesting. Next up, we have old Crispin. He's cleaning his sword with, I want to say, a lemon. And Alicent comes in, asks him what happened, and Cole's just playing it cool, like, yeah, we took the castle, and we left a meager garrison behind, and Alicent's like, yeah, so what happened with Aegon? And Cole's just like, yeah, Aegon, he fought valiantly. She's like, keeps pushing for more information, and he's just like, not giving her anything at all. And I don't know, this was probably one of my favorite Crispin scenes I've ever seen him, and I just liked how he played everything there. Did you enjoy that, Kevin?
That was a great scene, and also we get that he chose a side, or and we can get to more of that later, but that's how it felt. He's gonna back his boy.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Chris, you?
Yeah, I enjoyed that scene. I really actually liked most of the scenes with Crispin.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. There were, we'll get to it.
That was lemon, though. Like, is that, like, okay.
Yeah.
Actually,
lemon. The oil would clean out the ash from,
okay.
the dragon fire.
Now, I have a question. So, because, as you know, I've been rewatching Game of Thrones as we're going through this season, and one thing that always kind of strikes me a little odd is, in Game of Thrones, whenever there's, like, Valyrian steel, everybody instantly recognizes that it's Valyrian steel as opposed to anything else. And I assume there has to be some kind of, like, special look to it or special appearance or something. How does everybody know that, like, this is Valyrian steel when it seems like nobody's ever seen Valyrian steel? Like, is there an answer for that, Chris?
Pull out the books.
Yeah, maybe.
Start flipping
Like,
the pages.
I'm sitting there like, I don't think many of these people have ever seen Valyrian steel, but as soon as they see it, they're just like, motherfuck, that is Valyrian steel. I'm like, how do they know? I don't know. Just curious.
I mean, I would assume it would be the same way that, people knew what Damascus steel was back in the days when, sword fighting was still common. Apparently the blades feature distinctive rippled patterns similar to real-world Damascus steel. And apparently most of it was supposed to be dark gray in color, almost black, and fire, even dragon flame, couldn't damage it. So who the hell knows?
All right.
Because I noticed that most of the swords that they used in the show all were lighter, brighter color.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. All right. So we have a scene next up at the Black Council. Alfred is kind of giving us a quick review on everything that happened last episode with the little battle and whatnot, where they stand after losing Melise and the castles that they lost. He makes a comment about how Daemon's gone due to a marital spat. Rhaenyra, she's getting really annoyed about this whole fucking thing. Thinking that, he's talking shit, but, he says no. It's just that women aren't really privy to war strategies, so she fires back saying that there's been peace this whole time, so he's seen no more battles than she has. Which, is true, but also, I think a counterpoint to this is that as a man, he was probably, heard more war stories, so he may have a better idea, at least, of war stuff than she would based on how she was raised. I can see both sides of it. I don't think she really won that argument. I think that was kind of a draw, so to speak. Anyway... she says to send supplies and whatever to Maidenpool and Crackclaw Point as needed. Darkland, he wants vengeance for Rook's Rest and Duskendale. Bartimos Celtigar says that they are already lost, but Vagar is depleted at the moment. Laurent Marbrand, he's there. Everyone's going, like, kind of making plans, like, and Rhaenyra's trying to, like, kind of take this all in, but then she's like, I need to go take care of it. But then she can't because she's the queen, so she's frustrated, and it's very much a parallel of last episode with Aegon being frustrated that everybody's telling him that he couldn't go do stuff, and we saw what happened when he was just like, fuck it, I'm going to do stuff anyways. I don't know if Rhaenyra's quite... I mean, she wouldn't know Aegon's frustration, but, we are seeing that parallel. So, I guess my biggest question I have to you, Chris, is, they said that Vhagar is depleted at the moment. How the hell does this work with dragons? Like, obviously they have to eat and everything, but, like, do they get depleted of fire? Like, do they need days or hours or whatever to, like...
You are asking for hard information on things that
Chris,
don't have hard
I need
information.
all the info. I have questions here. You are...
But they couldn't leave things sufficiently, ambiguous if there were distinct answers.
You and your ambiguity. All right, so what do you think?
Well, I think he doesn't... I think that he doesn't know what he's talking about. And he's just coming up with the best thing, which is really not a good idea, because Vhagar is a monster. There are no, the White Walkers or anything in this series, but we have Vhagar.
I would imagine that, they're kind of... there's probably got to be some kind of mechanism to recharge the fire, so they're not just literally flaming, the entire planet. But I don't know what the exact mechanism would be. Like, if it's just time, if it's just food, if they need to go eat a specific zone or something.
I guess more my question was, because I'm not... I don't know. I didn't even do Dungeons and Dragons stuff. Is there any kind of precedent in fantasy, folklore, or anything?
I mean, in Dungeons and Dragons, it's 1d4 rounds after using your breath weapon, but I doubt that, that's the way it 6 to 24 seconds.
Sure. Okay.
Game of Thrones style.
Fair enough. So, what'd you think?
They just assume. That he just took down a dragon. He can't be 100%.
I think it's...
it's safe. In that way, he's not wrong.
Look at the holes in his wings. He's definitely not 100%.
Am I wrong in saying, though, that, Alfred is kind of right? I feel that men probably did hear war stories and possibly have better ideas on war strategy than women would, in theory.
Not even just strategy. In this, real life too, but, if you're trained to actually use a sword, use different, a bow, whatever, you have to have at least a little sense of, how to use it. Yeah, I'm certain that, there are probably royalty in that world who, never actually had a real fight, but, coddling minor members of nobility doesn't prepare them for, when they come up against the Mountain or the Hound or Jaime Lannister or Sir fucking Kristen Cole, whoever. They're Podrick. Shit, Podrick.
He was a gangster.
Wreck some shit. So, if nothing else, they would have at least the basics of, small unit combat.
Yeah, I get the feeling that Alfred... I feel that Alfred's probably not as much of a pushover as I maybe initially thought, either. I think he at least knows some stuff, at the very least. Kevin, what'd you think?
This is the, what would you have me do scene, right? At the end? Yeah, and then they're all like, no one says anything, and they all kind of look down. I thought that was hilarious. It's just we would have you do nothing because you're a woman. And to answer your question about, I don't know. I don't think I remember the question. I had something else, but I don't quite remember. But yeah, this was a great scene, and I do think that maybe if Rhaenyra drank during the day more, then she would have the gusto to get out there and ride her dragon.
Yeah, she is not the day drinker that her counterpart is, and I think that's her biggest failure right now.
Yeah, because you wouldn't be listening to no man. You would tell me what.
Right.
This is my war.
Right. She'd be wearing, like, instead of a no ma'am, a no man shirt like they had in Married with Children. Please, somebody get the reference.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
The sexist satire is, like, exactly the same in both those shows.
Yeah. It really is.
Exactly.
All right. Next up, we had this scene with Bela and Jace. Jace plans to go to Harrenhal and treaty with Daemon. Jace, he's restless, and Bela's like, your mom's just simply protecting you because, you are the succession plan. So Jace's like, yeah, okay, I'll just go talk to the Freys about getting access to, I don't know, the bridge, the twins, whatever. And he asks her to not say anything until at least he's gone. I don't know. I don't really think there's much to say because we'll get another scene later on where Jace is actually at the Freys. Do you guys have anything you want to add about that?
No.
Okay. Next up, we get Daemon. He's outside with Caraxes, and he has a bunch of Brackens there, and he wants them to swear loyalty to him or else. And the Brackens, they ain't having it. Willem is there talking shit because, he's got a dragon backing him up too. Dame demands an answer. The Bracken's like, whatever, we'll just fucking die. So they all just turn their back, and
we choose fire.
They choose fire, but then they don't show anything. And at first I'm like, did they burn them? But then you quickly find out, Damon didn't, because, he needs them alive. Plus, they have a good attitude. You kind of want these kind of assholes on your side in a war. And this is all much to Willem's chagrin. Damon, he asked Willem to persuade them. And he says that there are things that the crown must not be seen doing. So he's basically having Willem do his dirty work, which once again will kind of come into play at a later scene. So I don't know. I guess I'll just hold off and wait till that scene to kind of wrap up this part of it, I think.
I have a question though. What did he mean? I don't know what he meant by
persuading them.
Oh, well, yeah. Yeah, what did he mean by there's things that the crown can't be seen doing? What was he having him do?
In the later scene when that mob comes in and they listen off all the shit that's been happening?
Okay, yeah. All right. Because I was really confused about who was who in that, because I kind of assumed... Yeah, we can get to that later. But I was... All right, so now I know... I was thinking that the second time around, because I thought it was the opposite the first time. So, yeah. All right. I got you. And also, Lord Bracken rules. That guy, everything he says is gold. He's my new favorite character of if that's his only scene, it's total gold. I'd rather be the Lord of Bones and Cinder than bend the knee to something cunt, Blackwood cunt. I don't know. It was awesome.
That's the type of guy you want on your side. So, yeah.
Yeah, that guy rules. We choose fire.
All right, so... Next, we have the scene at the Vale with Jane, Aaron, and Rhaena. Jane is just kind of this miserable cunt, as the Hound would say. She's pissed. She wanted the dragon there for protection, but they just brought a tiny little dragon. So Rhaena's like, technically we didn't lie, and it will get bigger. And Jane's like, fuck you. But you know what? You can come to dinner. And I don't know, there was more to it, but really there wasn't much substance to the scene. I liked Jane Eyre's dress. I think that was probably the most positive thing I took out of the scene. Clearly, Jane is not happy with this situation, so maybe that's foreshadowing, I don't know, future shit. I don't know. I have no idea. Chris, do you think this is foreshadowing, like, something negative down the road, or is this just a scene?
What do you mean, something negative?
Well, I mean, is Jane, like, really, like, going to back Rhaenyra totally, or is she kind of wavering because this kind of, I don't know, does she feel, like, betrayed in the deal?
I mean, let's put it like this. This war is going to last, like, another 20 fucking years. So, I mean, none of the good ideas that people have right now go into effect.
All right. Did you like her dress?
I thought it was kind of weird. You know, it was like flowy in parts, but like it wasn't bound anywhere that I would like expect. You know, like around the waist to kind of. So it was a weird look.
I like the color and I kind of like the fabric, but the design was weird to me. What do you think about the dress, Kevin? Most importantly,
I don't. I'm gonna play the man card because I honestly don't even remember it. Was it green?
Nope, it was blue, and it looked kind of almost like velour. It definitely wasn't velour, but I want to think it was velour. Because, you know, velour is soft and comfy. I don't know, do you think this is foreshadowing anything for you, Kevin, or is it just a scene to be a scene?
If it is, it's all flying above my head. I'm just like, this is a scene that I didn't really soak in.
I feel like this is almost like one of those scenes that in a season or two, like, you know, 17 episodes later, at the beginning of the episode, they're going to show this scene again, and then we're going to finally, like, get something more with it.
Exactly, that's how they do.
Yeah.
That's how they do.
Because, like, they go just long enough where you kind of, like, forget the scene ever existed. So, okay, finally we get a scene with a little bit of substance here. We get Rhaenyra and Mysaria having a chit-chat. Rhaenyra's going... She's upset because of how the men talk to her. She says that they speak around her and not to her directly. But Rhaenyra also understands that she has to be limited given, you know, the whole situation. She complains that she was never trained to fight. Elinda comes in to ask Rhaenyra if she's ready for dinner, and Rhaenyra's like, no, like, just fucking kind of bitchy.
Not now! like a child. Not now!
I don't want my mac and cheese now.
And I don't want it in my bedroom. Get out of here. Don't ask me what I'm eating.
Mysaria asks if Rhaenyra will reach out again to Daemon. Nah. Mysaria says that Crispin made a mistake, though, by parading the dragon head because the people will see it as a bad omen because, you know, the people are already starving. You know, Aegon's kind of fallen. He's not in a good way. And, you know, they can put together, you know, right now times suck. When Viserys was alive, things were peaceful. They were probably still broke, but they probably weren't starving as badly as they are now. There was a quote, to the discontented, rumors are feed. What you cannot do, let others do for you. So Mysaria suggests that there more than one way to win a war. And then we see Elinda going out at night with one of the guards, and that's the scene. And we'll follow up on Elinda towards the end of the episode. And I guess my first question, I read up on this, and I don't recommend people reading up on this, but I was just genuinely curious. Like, where the fuck is Westerling? Like, you remember Westerling? He was like Rhaenyra's like guard. He was the big bald knight in like season 1, and now like we have not seen him at all this season. I don't know. Is he just gone? Do you think, Kevin? What do you think?
I literally have no idea who you're talking about.
All right. What'd you think about the scene?
I like more how you're how you're like, oh, the first scene with Misera is the one of substance. Finally,
Absolutely,
we get to the goods.
I'm not biased at all, Kevin. Not at all.
Not at all. So I I appreciate that. And yeah, it was it kind of just says everything out loud that we saw in the council is kind of how I felt, and I like how you're like, are you gonna talk to David? And you're just like, nah.
Yeah, she was not having that. Chris, you remember Westerling? Like, are we gonna see him?
Yeah, didn't we talk about this? Didn't we talk about this last week?
Yeah, but I read up on him.
I don't know.
There's
Oh wait, did he get cast in something else? Is it because the actor's not available?
according to the books, he's like mentioned in like one whole sentence, and like that's it. And the only thing I learned was that there's some woman with the last name Westerling that is married to a Lannister. That's the only bit of information I could find about Westerling. So I think it's just kind of a dead thing, but I don't know. I just thought the guard kind of looked like Westerling, so that was on my mind. But anyway, I'll shut up. Chris, what'd you think about the scene at the very least?
I want to be like this. It's one of those situations where you're like, they tell us how smart people are, but they show us that they're fucking stupid. If you like, this should not be something that Mysaria has to explain to Rhaenyra. I mean, this should be something that she just fucking knows. So, I mean, I like the scene. I like the interplay between the two of them. Finally seems like something's going on. I love, what's the maid's name?
Elinda.
That was, like, I feel so bad for her. Like, every time she shows up, like, Rhaenyra's like, fucking go!
I mean, she went from, like, peacefully braiding her hair a couple of episodes ago to, like, just getting yelled at. So...
Madam, dinner's ready. Go!
Good stuff. That's gotta end up being a meme, right? I'm hoping it does. I'm not up on meme culture, but
probably.
All right. Next up, we have a scene between Baela and Rhaenyra. It's just kind of talking about Rhaenys and how Rhaenys originally snuck into the dragon pit, and that's how she connected to Meleys, despite her father being upset about it. Then the word fierce is thrown around because whenever you guys suggest how brave a woman is in TV, for some reason fierce is like the only term that writers can come up with. Whatever. I don't know. Come up with some other words, guys. I don't know. Rhaenyra says that with Rhaenys gone, she has to rely on Baela more and tells Baela to give the box to Corlys. And I don't know. I'm sure somebody watching this was probably like, what's in the box? And I'm sure they didn't quite go Brad Pitt, but somebody Chris, you knew what was in the box, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I guess.
Kevin, you knew?
What is in the box?
Are you asking?
Yeah. What's in the box?
Chris, go ahead.
What's in the box?
It was the hand pin that she was asking Corlys to be her hand.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. That's right. I remember that. Yeah, so... No, I didn't. But it actually... But it all felt right.
It did. It wasn't a bad scene. It was just... It was kind of a filler scene, but... I didn't mind it. I liked hearing more about Rhaenys, at the very least. I don't know. She was legit probably one of my 5 favorite characters in this show, so it kind of sucks to have her gone. But,
It was this a scene with his daughter?
With... This was Bela and Rhaenyra.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Bela and Rhaenyra, okay. I was confusing it with the Corlys.
Yeah, we'll get to it. But now, my friends, we have the scene of the week. We have Daemon having a dream with this hot girl, and she is talking highly of him, and he is groping her. He's going downtown on her, and then his hands are all bloody. And she says, if only he had been born first. He is her favorite son. And then we get Simon interrupting, asking if the duck was not to Daemon's liking. Dame is now at the dinner table. He isn't hungry. They talk about preferring goose over duck, which felt like a callback to the conversation Rhaenyra and Laenor had about their sexual preferences. Probably not related, but, goose and duck nonetheless. Then Daemon, he says how this is a great time for a show of strength. Dame asks about the upkeep of Harrenhal, and how that's going. Simon, he just starts listing all these things because, I don't know, Simon is there for the comedy factor as far as I'm concerned. He says there is a little issue about money because when Larys took over, he transferred all of the family's wealth to King's Landing. Simon asks Daemon if he could write to Rhaenyra and ask for some money.
Perfect.
Daemon, he's like, no, I'll just guarantee the payments myself somehow. I don't know. And then he wants to be the king. He wants to be called the king. Simon's like, yeah, you're the king consort. And Daemon's like, you know what? I find that last bit a little bit unnecessary. There is so much shit to unpack here. Because I have questions, but I know we got to get it out of our system first and foremost. Let's talk about the dream. Chris, did you know it was his mom initially, or did you have no clue?
Oh wait, can I just say real quick? Cue the Sleepwalkers theme.
Excellent.
I initially was like, is that supposed to be this shit? What was his name? His brother's wife.
Emma.
Wait.
Oh, I didn't even think about Emma.
I thought it was Helena.
Yes, that's who I thought it was at first too. So we all had a good laugh at this, right? Like, this was ridiculous.
Well, Kevin, I might have discussed this with Kent before we started, but I was speaking to my mom this week, and she's like, "So I hear House of the Dragon went a little overboard." I'm like, "In what way?" She's like, "Oh, I heard one of the guys is sleeping with his mom." I mean, and I looked at her. Well, I didn't look at her because I was on the phone with her, but I looked at my phone, and I'm like, "So you're saying the fact that he had a dream where he slept with his mom is more disturbing than the fact that he has 2 to 3 children with his niece?"
Yeah. None of it's too far for this show.
And
but yeah,
Kent brought up a good, or Corlys pimping out his 8-year-old daughter to the king.
Yeah, like, that's my line. That's the worst thing. Like, this was just a dream at the very least. Like, he wasn't fucking his own mom. It was just a dream. Corlys legit tried pimping out his 8-year-old to the fucking old-ass king.
that was probably one of the most awkward scenes of the whole. I forgot all about that until you guys mentioned it a couple episodes back, and I was like, yeah, he did, didn't he? Wow. Yeah.
That shit happened.
I'm not a big fan of Corlys. Yeah. I mean, I just, most of his stuff I just find, I kind of phase out, but, yeah. Maybe that's why, though, now that you mention it.
So, Kevin, I immediately thought of you while watching this scene. I'm like, this has to be Kevin's favorite scene of this episode.
Oh, I mean, I was really confused at first because I thought it was Elena, and I'm like, what's going on? And that's very normal for me watching a House of the Dragon episode. And then that shot, and I'm like, no, it's not Helena. And then she's like, oh, you're my favorite son. And I was like, oh, of course. Perfect. But yeah, I wasn't really fazed by it, but it was very, very enjoyable. All of Damon's stuff in Harrenhal is pretty great, and all the stuff with him and Sir Simon Russell Beale, it's a comedy act. They're so funny. They're together. So with the whole King, Your Grace, King consult or whatever. And then you talking about the drinking game. I was like, these guys will get you shit faced. Like all of their interactions.
So for anybody listening, I had this idea while I was watching Game of Thrones. Like, just sit through one full season in a day and drink every time that they say Your Grace, King, or Queen, and just see how you're doing by the end of those 10 episodes. I feel like that's a rough day for anybody, really. It was funny when I was talking to my therapist on Monday. She's like, can we talk about that scene in House of the Dragon? And I immediately knew what it had to be about, so that amused me. So the other part that I want to discuss here is the whole money thing. And I'm left wondering, does Rhaenyra have money? Like, a few scenes ago, like, she was like, send supplies and stuff, but what money does Rhaenyra have? Like, it's not like she has like a bank account and just can take out money. Like, I don't understand like what resources she has and like how much, like how wealthy she is. Clearly she could afford stuff. Like I'm trying to figure out like how the hell she has so much money, and if she really is still balling or if she's kind of living low level at this point. I have no idea. I don't know. What do you think that she's got a lot of money still, Kevin?
She's got dragon glass up the ass, right? They're at Dragonstone. Is that where? Wait, is that where they have the dragon glass? Or am I confusing places?
No, you're right. Yeah,
that's the spot.
Yeah,
which is not really worth anything, but
it looks pretty.
It looks pretty. Yes, yeah, it looks cool. Yeah, I have no idea. I just thought it was hilarious when they're like, "Hey, will you call up your wife and ask for money?" I feel like that's exactly what Daemon should do, and then just take credit for it. Which I feel like maybe after you speaking the scene out, Kent, is what he is going to do at some point, or just get money. I don't know. He didn't. I feel like the Blackwoods and the Brackens ain't really got much.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they looted stuff. Chris, is the Iron Bank, like, I assume that's still a thing, back 200 years ago?
Yeah, probably.
But, like, do you have any idea or concept of, like, how the financials work for somebody like Rhaenyra who's not at King's Landing and not on the throne?
Yeah. So every single lord, noble, whatever, gets taxes from all the people who live in their fiefdom. So it's not just being king, but think of like all of the titles that Daenerys had, King of the Andals and the First Men and blah, blah, blah. So even if Rhaenyra wasn't king yet, she would have had multiple fiefdoms paying her taxes the entire time that she was just chilling in, King's Landing with her dad and Dragonstone, when she was the heir and kicked out over there. Not to mention that Dragonstone is pretty rich, and like the Iron Bank, even if it it's around. It's not a factor right now because of Corliss's blockade. There's no way that, she could go to them for money, but there's no way that the Greens could, because there's no way for them to get to Essos.
See, this is why I ask you the questions. You may not always know about dragons recharging, but you got some good answers for me. So,
thank you.
All right. Next up, we got. Okay, we are at the small council in King's Landing. Alicent's getting updates on Aegon from Orwell. Wow, I feel like I missed something when I was talking about it, but whatever, I'll get to it later. No, actually, I want to address it right now because I definitely overlooked it when I was talking earlier. So, when they were removing the armor from Aegon, I had read to expect, armor, melted and, melded to his skin. And when they were removing it, there was black on his skin, but to me that just looked like charred skin. And when I talked to my therapist, she's like, no, that was the armor kind of attached to his skin still. When I talked to Eric, he's like, no, that was just charred skin. So I've heard both sides of this. I believe it to be just charred skin. Do you guys think it's charred skin, or do you think the armor kind of melted into him? Anybody?
I thought the armor kind of melted into him, as they were peeling it off. And actually, I looked up because when I saw that scene, I was like, you know what? He's definitely damaged from fire. And I was like, so I looked into the immunity of Targaryens, and I realized, and to your credit, Kent, Targaryens are not immune to fire, but they just have. They can just withstand it more than regular people. And that Daenerys, the unburnt going in and the Dragonstones was just kind of like this magical moment which kind of makes her stand out. But yeah, I kind of, the way that Game of Thrones did that made me, or worded it when asked about Viserys or whatever, when Daenerys mentions that. Anyways, always felt like Targaryens were immune to fire, but I guess that's because we really only followed Daenerys for the most part of that show.
Right.
So,
Chris,
you were right, Ken.
Thanks.
Long story short.
Chris, did it cure charred skin or melted into the skin to you?
No, it wasn't, well, the skin fused with the armor. So it didn't melt into it, but, it was just charred skin. But they had to cut it away. Basically, go stick your hand into molten metal, and, it's not going to be inside your skin, but your skin is going to be fused to it.
Gotcha.
Imagine what your foot would look like after being hit with a bolt of lightning.
Yes. I could see that. Fair enough. I was just going to say, this is, when 2 episodes ago we saw Aegon looking in the mirror, we saw half of him in the dark shadows. That's what this was all kind of foreshadowing, was half his body, clearly, was it his left side, I think, is really burned up more so than his right side. So that was the foreshadow, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, we're at the small council. They need a new regent in Aegon's absence. They ask if Alicent has any suggestions. She naturally suggests herself, but the council just does what a group of men do back then. They're just like, you're a woman. We have the next guy in line right over here in Aemond. We're going back him. And then Alicent thinks well, Orwell kind of spoke up for her. So then she's like, well, maybe Larys will also take her side. But the foot lover, no, he picked Aemond. So then she's like, well, at least the guy banging me in Cole, he's going to back me up. And he did not back it up. he backed Aemond because they're boys, and Aemond just kind of has that look. It's not even a smirk, but he has that look of confidence, and he just casually gets up, takes the ball, and goes to the head of the table, and like just immediately gets down to business. And as we're hearing, like, all the talk, you could just see Alicent's like mind just going in circles, like, how did everything go so fucking wrong? And it was like, I'm sure she wishes she could be more like Cersei, and you hear the guys talking about the lack of food, the unrest, and that they're going to close the gates so nobody can come and go without the crown's consent. And my favorite line by Aemond, "Oh, and will someone cut down those fucking rat catchers?" I love this scene. I had a great time watching Alicent basically kind of spiral here a bit. What'd you think, Chris?
Yeah, it makes you wonder, like, what's fucking going through people's heads sometimes, that she was surprised that this was going to happen. Yeah. Yeah, I've had a lot of experience. Oh, so you're saying that, all of those things that you said the king said back in the day, you were the one saying them?
Yeah. It was such a rude awakening for her. It was great. I liked it. I was all for it because, I don't know. It's not like things were running necessarily horribly when she was running things for Viserys, but simultaneously, she does make a lot of mistakes. I don't know. I think it's good to see what Aemond can do, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I know bad things are going to happen, but it wasn't like things were great with Alicent. Kevin, what'd you think?
I loved when Larys is basically just says, "A woman is a woman is a woman, and they will not be queen." Like, the other side has got a woman running things. Like, what are we going to look like if we got a woman? Woman will not run things, is basically what he said. And, which is crazy. And maybe he was just saying that to, because I kind of just feel like he's becoming more and more like a suck up to whoever's in charge. Who's going to be there for the long haul. And yeah, and old Crispy's sticking with his boy Aemond, but there's more on that later of why he actually says Aemond.
Sure. Well, not only that, but I mean, he realistically is the hand. I think just strategically speaking, he had to back Aemond there. I don't know. Just, from a viewer's perspective, that's what I would have guessed anyway, given his position. I don't know. Anyway, we get a scene with Hugh Hammer, or Hugh the Hammer, Valentine. He's with his wife, Kat, and the sick daughter, who still doesn't have a name, because I spent 5 minutes trying to find the name and I couldn't. Because in the book, apparently, they don't ever mention Hugh having a wife or a sick daughter. So, we still don't... I couldn't even figure out who the actress was. Anyway, they kind of basically talk, and Kat, she wants to get the fudge out of there before Rhaenyra comes and retaliates. She wants to go to Tumbleton, where her brother lives, but Hugh doesn't want to come across as a beggar. She's like, dude, you're already a beggar. Like, what the fuck here, man? Like, even though the king made promises, like, it's just, nothing's going to happen. And she's like, like, they can stay around, waiting for promises, and basically those promises will pay to feed Ghost. And she absolutely won that argument. Round one knockout, as far as I'm concerned. And basically we'll get a little bit more to this, so I don't know. I don't really see Well, yeah, we could talk about it now, because the other scene is we basically see later on that they're trying to get out of town and they can't. So, progress on the Hugh story. I don't know. Are you still interested, Kevin, in Hugh?
So, I'll just say about the scene, anyways. I just love of how much of a scumbag Aegon is, and the real genius of his play of he's just going to tell him that he's going to pay him and give him money up front, and then they're going to build the shit anyways, and he's just not going to pay him. What are they going to do? And now he's in a coma or whatever, So I love it. It just kind of shows you exactly the kind of king that he is. And in their position, it's not a terrible move. Especially, with that scene with his, Reese Evans, what was his character's name?
Otto.
Yeah. So he actually had a thing or two to show Otto. Like, fuck him. We'll just tell him we're going to pay him. So, I don't know. I thought that was great, and it reminded me of when, I thought that he was kind of a decent dude in that scene, and it turns out that he isn't, and never was, so.
Fair enough. Chris?
I don't even remember what the question was again.
Are you interested in the character of Hugh? Is he just kind of staying afloat here?
Yeah. What would surprise me was we got Hugh, but we didn't get any of Ulf or Alan Adam.
Right. Yeah.
At this point, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, you kind of have to be interested.
Well, yeah. We know that they're not wasting all this time on this guy, and it's not going to have a payoff. Obviously, there's going to be a payoff, and by the end of the episode, we can all kind of figure out things. All right, we have the next scene. We have the rat catchers. They're getting cut down, and the most sympathetic character of all, the poor dog, is still there waiting for his master, and the dog even follows as they're carting off the dead bodies. Then Alicent comes up to Cole. She's giving him shit about picking Aemond. She asks him if his loyalty is only to her when they're banging at night, and he talks to her about all the shit that he saw at Castle Rook's whatever the hell the castle was, and the armor melting, and he says that a dragon rider should be the one that leads them. She feels cast aside, and he's like, he thinks that he's kind of doing her a favor. He's like, we're kind of sparing you from making really shitty, terrible decisions, because whoever's in charge is going to be making some really bad decisions moving forward that's not going to be great. And then he calls her Alicent, rather than Your Grace or whatever. She gets pissed off, says that she didn't give him permission to use her name. The spiraling continues for Alicent, and it couldn't happen to a nicer person. I'm guessing you guys probably enjoyed this scene. Not that there was a lot, but I'm kind of getting... Cole Crispin, he's starting to become somebody I'm liking a little bit more each episode suddenly. What about you, Chris? Are you digging Cole a little bit more?
Yeah, he's not as one-dimensional as he kind of was, like, my butt got hurt by Rhaenyra back in the day, so now I have to fucking whine about it kind of going on.
Right. Kevin? You more on with Cole now?
Oh, I'm house green all the way. But I think in this really revealed that he's actually quite terrified of all of this shit, especially the dragons. And like when you think back at that battle scene, it all makes sense. It all kind of clicked in. Like, oh, he didn't pick Aemond because they're boys. He picked Aemond because they're fucked. They threw this to the dragons, and like 900 of his men died. Like, he's not pumped. Like he actually cares about that. And yeah, so I really like this scene. Keep my motherfucking name out your motherfucking mouth. At the end, and I can't think exactly what she said about him in the beginning. Like, oh, you only come to my, am I only your queen at night or whatever? Like, flourish in the night, and like, or do you leave at sunrise like a moth? I can't get the whole flow of that, but I really like that line. I really liked that back and forth, and I thought there was actually a lot there of we actually Cole kind of tells her finally kind of where he's at, and it sounds terrifying,
It was the most realistic and honest I think Cole has been this whole show so far, and it was nice to see. Like, whoever from the show, I remember reading an interview saying that by the end of the season, like, Cole will come off, he'll feel like more of a character than he did before, and I wholeheartedly agree, like, with this character development. All right, so next up we had the scene where Hugh's family's trying to get out, but the guards have gated, whatever. After that, we see Jace. He's at the Twins with Forrest and Sabitha Frey. Neither of them are nearly as cool as Walder. We have to say that, just get out of the way. They say that their Lord Grover Tully hasn't declared for Rhaenyra yet. They're scared of Vhagar. No shit, right? But Jace, he does counter. He's like, isn't it a little silly you're afraid of a dragon that's like miles away, but my dragon's right here. It could just fuck you right up. And they're like, all right, well, will you protect us? And like, I'm sitting there wondering, like, what the fuck is Jace really going to do against Vhagar? Like, we already know the answer is, like, that was kind of a dumb fucking question if you ask me. Like, no, they don't have any protection against Vhagar at the moment. But Jace is also like, we have Daemon. Daemon will also help protect you. And then Jace is like, all right, so what is it that you really want? Because you guys are just dicking me around right now. And they want the glorious castle known as Harrenhal in all of its glory. And Jace says, all right, if you want Harrenhal, we need a little bit more. We need bent knees. And the phrase, look, I don't know, they kind of look like they scoffed at it, and Jace walks off. I don't know, like, I felt like how they played it off, like, it was kind of indecisive, but it also feels like later on that it was agreed upon. I don't know. I thought that it was weird.
He says bent knees, and then she fills up his
So is that just the acknowledgement as you fill up somebody's wine glass? All right.
Yeah. It's because normally you would have the servant do it, but instead you have the lady of the house is like, okay, yeah, here, let me, we'll drink to that.
Fair enough. I did not read into that way, but good that, somebody here is smarter than me. So Chris, since you spoke up, what'd you think about the scene? You like the new phrase?
I liked I liked all of Jace's scenes. This was it.
Yeah, it was Jace.
It's Jace, right? Or is it Luke? Yeah. Okay. I like all of Jace's scenes in this episode. The one with Bela was kind of like the lowest out of the three, but like he's one of the things I like about this series is that their characters, you're like, oh, I wonder if that guy is going to actually have anything going on, or if he's just going to be, like a meme, or, not even a meme, but a trope. And they keep abusing us of the idea that these guys are going to be tropes by giving us scenes with them being anti-tropey, I guess.
That makes sense, yeah. I think Jace is growing in confidence. I like that aspect of him at the very least. What about you, Kevin?
Yeah, I feel like Jace really stepped it up in this episode, and I think it's been kind of gradual. But yeah, I felt the same way. Like, I didn't care about Jace at all until basically this episode, and I think he's doing a good job. I was a little bit like, can he really make all these promises? And the way he's, like, is Daemon really going to comply? And he's like, oh, he'll do what the queen says, like.
I mean, that
as an audience,
that's
we're like,
not
really?
necessarily.
As an audience, we're like, really? But yeah, it sounds good, and I mean, it's Harrenhal.
Yeah, I don't know. Do the phrase know how bad the situation is between Daemon and Rhaenyra? I have no idea.
I mean, I would imagine that nobody knows because, like, her own council doesn't really know.
There's no correspondence. Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody's ravens are ever going back home, so.
Right. All right. So we get another fun scene with Daemon. He's chopping wood, and Alice, she's watching from a distance, but then next thing we know, she's talking to him, and she tells him that he's born to swing a sword and not an axe, and Daemon, he wants to set a good example, hard worker, not afraid to get his hands dirty. And she says that she's hearing strange things from the Brackens from Stonehenge, Lambswold, and Mori. Which I was like, ooh, Stonehenge. That was fun. She is hearing horrible things with kids crying, women being taken away from their homes. She goes on, and Daemon's like, yeah, this is the shit that happens during war. And she's like, yeah, but is this, like, the type of army that you wish to raise? Like, at the end of the day, it's like the powerless, and innocent people who are going to suffer for all of this shit. And Daemon says, if Aemond rules, the realm's going to suffer. So Alice says that, she's sure that Daemon's tactics are absolutely positively approved by the queen. And he comes back with saying that if Rhaenyra does win this war, the people will look to a man to be the ruler, and Rhaenyra is welcome to join him as the king. As king and queen. She fires back that it was a pity that Daemon never got to know his mother, and that was just the mic drop moment of the episode. And then, not missing a fucking beat, along comes Simon. The fucking comedy duo lives on. He tells Daemon that there's a new message. In Stonehenge, the Blackwoods have overwhelmed the Brackens, and Lord Amos has pledged his banner to Daemon. House Bracken is his, and Daemon says he needs to talk to Willem and congratulate him. I think probably the most important part of this was stuff with Alice. Really having a lot of good points, and I don't know if Daemon's really giving any fucks. Like, Kevin, do you think Daemon's even really listening to her, or is he just, like, off in his own mind, like, when I become king, all this shit's just gonna be it, like, fuck everybody else?
Yeah, I mean, Daemon's kind of, like, trying to, like, figure himself out, and I think he's figured it out, that it's gonna be him, he wants it, and I just want to say my favorite part of this scene is when Simon walks in and then she walks out, and he just does this look like, what are you guys doing down here? Like, why are you guys talking? I don't know. There was like a really weird look. Like almost like a double take as she was walking out. I can't wait to see how this all works out between Daemon and Rhaenyra. I mean, by the end of the season.
I could go for like at least a half hour straight of just Daemon, Alice, and Simon. Like, just talking. I'd be fine with that, quite frankly, at this point. They all have such unique personalities, and Simon is just there for the entertainment. Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, this. I'm not quite sure where it's going with her. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can't tell if she's trying to seduce Daemon to get him, or to get him to turn into a murderous fuck, or just lose his sleep, or she wants him dead. I have no idea where what she's doing, but
in some ways, it feels like, you know, how Melisandre was pulling all the strings to like get Stannis to rise to power. In some ways, it kind of feels like that, but I don't think that's the route they're going to take in totality. But maybe I really don't know. I'm intrigued though. I find her to be an utterly fascinating character, if nothing else. All right, next up we get the scene with Baela. She finds Corlys outside at the shipyard at night. You know, he's just sad and mopey, and, you know, she talks about all of his great accomplishments and how, you know, basically he did all this stuff for Rhaenys, and she tells him that Rhaenyra wants him to be her hand. You know, Corlys at first, he's like taking it as Rhaenyra is like just keeps asking more and more for his house, and like he's just, you know, he's given so much and now he's lost his wife, so like more pity party. And then Baela, she's like, yeah, but Rhaenys died as a dragon rider, just like my mom did, you know, in the dragon fire, and, you know, that's how I want to go out, type thing. And then she kind of just gives him the box and stomps away, and Corlys like, hey, granddaughter, whatever the fuck he says. And he says that he wants her to be his heir, but she says that she can't because she is of blood and fire, and Driftmark has to go to Salt and Sea, so gosh, I can't imagine who he's going to name as his heir. Oh no, I still like the scene a lot. I really like Corlys. I'm curious to see. I think he's going to be fun as the Hand. I hope he is. Once he gets past all the mopiness. I guess my first question would be to Chris. What exactly do you know what like Rhaenys's claim was to being, like, she was like the queen that never was or whatever? Like, how did that play out? Do you know?
I mean, that was literally the first scene of the show, but I think she was let's see, she was the youngest sister of Aegon the First. Hold on, it's maybe the... Oh, that's the older Rhaenys. Fuck, I don't. I think she was like Viserys and Daemon's aunt, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Like the youngest daughter of the non-king sibling.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I really just... I know that they kind of explained it, but then I was like, I'm just not sure exactly how that whole thing... And I know, like I said, I know they kind of explained it, but I wasn't sure in totality what the whole lineage thing was, other than she should have been, but she never was. I don't know. Are you looking forward to Corlys as the Hand, Chris?
Yeah. I'm like... he's the only one that they respect right now in that fucking court.
Right, yeah. And I don't know who's going to get named heir. Do you think will it be Alan or Adam?
I think it's going to be Alan, but I think Adam is the one who gets the dragon.
Oh, okay. Same question to you, Kevin. Do you think it's going to be Alan or Adam?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't even tell. Wait, so Alan is the older one? The bald one?
He's the one that rescued Corlys. So, yes.
Yes. Okay, yeah. That's what I would think. Yeah, that he would be the one named with all of his whatever his scenes and his scene with Rhaenys or whatever. Yeah. And then, but yeah, I think Chris's predictions sound pretty good.
Agreed. All right. Next up, we have Rhaenyra and Alfred having a little chit chat, and Rhaenyra's kind of settled her tits down a little bit, and she's like, "You know, you're right. I may have been in wrong in trusting Daemon as much as I did." She wants Alfred to go to Harrenhal and try to talk some sense in Daemon. At first he's like, "Are you removing me from the small council?" And she's like, No. It's just, she kind of trusts him to do the right thing by her. And, we get a sense that although, at these meetings he's very outspoken, he is coming from a well-meaning place. It just, it doesn't come off that good. Basically, she wants to know what Daemon's intentions are as far as, if he's just trying to go to become king, or if he's still, by Rhaenyra's side or whatever. And he asks if she has a message for Daemon, and she says that she would like to finish up their previous conversation. Not a big scene, but I really liked the scene. Just, I really like Alfred, I guess. I don't know. As soon as I start liking a guy, he's probably going to fucking die, knowing my luck. But, I don't know. Did you find Alfred a little bit more likable in this scene, Kevin?
Yeah, I did. Honestly, it really worked great for both of the characters in this scene. I thought it, really showed them as humans and, that they actually have a history as, people. I thought it was really good scene. Really, I thought it was hilarious when he asked if he was going to go off the council, and then basically everything Rhaenyra says after that all really kind of establishes their relationship, and that there is a lot of trust there. Basically, I was waiting for him the entire time where she was telling him that Daemon might be going for the crown himself, and to go and talk to Daemon. I just was waiting for him to go, "I don't want to be involved," because that's what I would say. I don't want to get in the middle of this.
My name's Paul, and this between y'all type thing. Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah.
What about you, Chris?
It's a big ask.
It is.
It's a big
it really
ask.
is. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, I liked it. I don't know if I necessarily liked Alfred more, but he at least seemed human. But I have a feeling he's probably not long for this world, so I don't know if we really need to worry about him.
Yeah, there's no need to get attached. This guy, out of any character, I'd be willing to bet some money that he's dead by the end of the season. That's a guess. All right.
Just gets beheaded as soon as he shows up to Harrenhal. Stay out of my relationship.
Well, David's probably gonna be fucking sleepwalking, trying to chase, his one-eyed self and try to decapitate young Rhaenyra, and instead he's going to decapitate Alfred or some shit. Who knows? Speaking of
walking around with a boner, daydreaming about banging his mom.
He's going to impale Alfred with that thing. Next up,
have a feeling that, somebody's going to be knocking on that door one night while he's having a dream, and they're going to just get hucklebucked into Daemon's bed, and, it's not going to be pretty.
It's going to...
He's going to wake up, he's going to be like, why is there a dude in my bed?
Dude, if they just keep on with these weird-ass dream sequences, I really want to know, the level of weirdness that they can come up with, because this week really raised the bar quite a bit, I think. So I look forward to it. The next scene we have is Daemon in bed, and he hears warbling, and I have to say, every time because I watch with closed captioning on, whenever I see the word warbling, all I can think of is Phantasm. That was the very first time I saw in a movie where there's warbling, what was just in parentheses on the screen. So I was waiting for the tall man, but he never came. There are footsteps, and it's Simon. He says the River Lords are here to speak to him right now. And Daemon's like, what the fuck time is it? And Simon says it's the wolf, so I'm assuming it's midnight or around that time. And so Daemon gets dressed. He meets, 10 to 15 people. Daemon just is a dick. He is talking down to these people because they woke him up. And basically, there's been some complications since Willem took down the Brackens. So we have multiple people kind of complaining. We find out that basically some of the churches were looted and burned, fields and farms were fucked up, livestock was stolen, peasants were put to the sword, women and children were pursued, barbarity, basically, punishing the Brackens is one thing for treason, but this is just a little bit too much. Daemon counters saying, hey, I gave the Brackens an opportunity, and the group's just that's fine, but the Blackwoods are straight up just exploiting this war to commit atrocities. And then they these assholes, they proudly carried the Targaryen banners. Then Daemon here sees Lena. She's terrible wars being fought in these lands. And then she's like, hey, have you been looking after our girls? Simon has this quizzical look on his face. The mob says that they really shouldn't have expected much more from a guy that ordered an execution of a child. Daemon says that was a lie, and he will have the tongue of the man who told that lie, to which they say, well, your man is half the kingdom, my prince. And a lady called Daemon an interloper, which I believe that term was used in Children of the Corn, so that made me happy. And basically they said, dragon, no dragon, whatever, they're not going to raise their banners for a tyrant. I don't know. Is this really a wake-up call for Daemon, or is he just going to keep on going down this path, Chris?
No. He's going to keep on going down this path.
Yeah.
He's come so far. How could he go back now? He's got one guy calling him king. So,
King consort.
He's pretty much just a big Linkin Park fan,
I just realized I said wake-up call, and it really was a wake-up call, literally. So, I'm proud of myself now. Alright, we're almost at the end here. We have Rhaenyra. She's looking on in thought. We have some good music during this. We have a different girl brushing Rhaenyra's hair because Elinda's gone off to do her thing. And speaking of Elinda, she's right now at King's Landing. It's nighttime. It's raining. She needs to get past the gate. She tells one of the guards that she has an errand for Mysaria, and he's like, oh, that bitch still alive? And she's like, yeah, I need to go see an old friend, so he escorts her in. We see Alfred and 4 guards. They're riding horse at night. Elinda knocks on a door, and I did not pick up on who the fuck it was that answered the door, but now I know it was Lyanna, the blonde, like, handmaiden that Aegon got pregnant back in season 1. So she opens the door, and Elinda goes in, and that's all we see for the rest of that storyline, but I'm super intrigued about that. We see Corlys sitting on the throne at night holding the hand pin. Aemond's just standing alone, staring at the Iron Throne. He turns around, sees Helaena. She asks him if it was worth the price. We see Aegon breathing, struggling there or whatever, and Alicent's by his side, but she gets up, walks away, and he says, "Mummy." And there was a lot of shit going on here. I guess, honestly, I was wondering if Aemond was going to, try to get with Helaena, because, they're Targaryens and they all just love fucking their sisters, so why not? But more importantly, I'm super intrigued about this whole stuff with Elinda and Lyanna. I don't know. That kind of intrigues me where exactly they're going to go with that story. So, Chris, where do you think the Elinda and Lyanna story is going to go? Elinda and Lyanna?
Oh, I have no clue. I thought she was going into Hugh's house. I thought that was Hugh's wife that she went into. So the fact that you're saying it's not made me have to go.
Yeah, when I was looking at the cast list, I'm like, Lyanna, where the fuck was she? And then when I rewatched, I was like, oh, that explains why I didn't recognize that girl. So that's who that was. Well, I guess my other question to you, Chris, is Aemond's do you think there's any chance Aemond's going to end up with Helaena? Oh.
No.
It crossed my mind.
Good.
Though.
Good.
I'll throw that out there. Yeah, everything you said crossed my mind, except for the whole Linda Lyanna. I didn't even remember that Aegon had a kid.
No,
outside.
He knocked her up, and
Aegon had
I think Alicent learned of it, and Alicent had Orwell make the tea and made Lyanna drink it. So she didn't have Aegon's kid. She didn't want Aegon to have a bastard at that time.
Okay, yeah, that sounds familiar now, but yeah, I didn't even.
They could have done a little bit better job showing Lyanna. I know it was dark, so I don't know. It was just tough.
Do you mean Diana?
Huh?
Because I'm looking at the cast list and I don't see anybody named Lyanna at all listed. So, but there is a Diana who is a blonde.
My eyes may be terrible, and I may have misread it, but I thought it said Lyana towards the bottom of the cast list. But I could be wrong. I could be very wrong. Whoever it was, the blonde girl. We'll go with the blonde girl that got knocked up.
Okay, that's her because I clicked on her and I got the pop up of her in the next issue.
So yeah,
episode.
my eyes just simply deceived me. I'm an old fuck. All right, we got one final scene here. We get Rhaenyra. She's looking through old books. Jace shows up, and she's looking at Visenya, who was Vhagar's first rider and was the first wielder of the Dark Sister sword. Jace doesn't want Rhaenyra to follow her as an example. I don't know. She asks how things went with the Freys. He fills her in on what they want. She offers him some praise, but still looks a little angry. She's just straight up frustrated about not being able to do anything. She feels like everybody's fighting for her. She wants to chip in, but she also can't. And Rhaenyra doesn't really want Jace going out and doing all this stuff because she's afraid that Jace is going to end up like Luke and just get fucked over by Aemond and Vhagar. So she's like, we need dragons. So Jace is like, yeah, we have two large ones that could handle Vhagar below us, called Vermithor and Silverwing. but they need riders. And then Jace brings up that, there's other people with different last names, but they all, there's a lot of bastards and a lot of dragon blood here, and they're surrounded by scrolls and books with info, and, fucking light bulb goes on above Rhaenyra's head, and that's kind of where we leave off, which, I guess if people hadn't thought about it, like, I assume this was the moment where people were like, oh, so that's why we met Ulf, and maybe, somebody even thought about Hugh. Like, we finally are like, oh, this is how this is going to tie into these people, I'm guessing. I'm hoping, at least. So, Kevin, are you... Do you think it's going to be ridiculous? And, like, there was probably, like, I don't know, thousands of scrolls there. Can you just picture Rhaenyra going through all those scrolls that night?
Oh man, that night would be rough because you'd just be like, this motherfucker. Well, who wants a dragon?
Yeah,
I don't want to give a dragon to any of these guys. Tully? Tully? Yeah. So yeah, that's what I was thinking. But I was like, oh shit, they're going to be just handing out dragons to bastards. This is going to be great.
It's fucking
be a great
Westerosi.
You get a dragon.
Hell yeah.
You get a dragon.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I don't know, Chris, did you like it? Got anything to add to it?
Yeah, we've gone pretty long on what I consider basically like the biggest filler episode of the series so far. But there were a couple cool scenes. So I like the ending, but it was mostly kind of anticlimactic.
I don't know if this episode was the bigger filler or if episode 3 was. I feel both of these really are vying for biggest filler episode. Which makes sense, 'cause, the book ends to the, big epic episode of last week. But yeah, this was filler. But I think this episode really set the stage for the next 3 episodes. That's my hope, at least. So, I don't know, Kevin, do you have any final thoughts on this filler episode before we get on to the question?
Yeah, I just like this episode altogether. What I felt was most important about it was that it just shows what an absolute mess that this is after that battle, and like one of the coolest, things that has happened in the House of the Dragon series. At least top 5 that battle. And then just how depressing it is. Even for the people that won, they got a dragon head and they're wheeling it through town, and like people, are getting really depressed about it and not getting hyped on war.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, really, it comes across like showing,
So,
even if they quote
it.
unquote won, nobody really comes across as a winner. Really, both sides took some nasty, shit with it. Really. So, Chris.
Yeah, it doesn't look good when your king kind of goes down. One side lost,
the
first
princess
battle
that never was, and a dragon, but the other side, the fucking king got burnt to a fucking crisp. Like...
I mean, not only did he get burnt to the crisp, but he got burnt to a crisp by his own side.
Yeah. So that's fun. Well, do you think I guess Gwaine could tell her. Like, do you think Alicent will eventually learn the truth that Aemond is the one that did it?
She already knows, man. Like,
yeah, she knows.
That's why she's asking. Kristen, what did my son do? He burnt his brother alive, didn't he? Because
I cannot say. Does not mean I do not know. It just says I cannot say. Aemond's my dog.
Yeah.
Those are the exact words. Yeah.
All right. So I have the weekly question. I have a couple other things that I really just wanted to quickly discuss, but we'll do the major question first, which was basically for season 5 there in Game of Thrones there was in my opinion, two really big, unexpected deaths, which was to me was Shireen Baratheon and at the time Jon Snow was kind of sort of killed, and I guess that inspired my question as to out of the first like 5 seasons, which death was kind of like the biggest surprise for you? And for Chris, since he'd probably read the books beforehand, I'm just going to cue that for like the books. So, Chris, what was like the biggest surprise for you in like the first? Okay, go for it.
Go ahead and go with Kevin first, so I can mop up on this one.
Okay, so I have two answers. The first one that came to mind was Oberyn, and I remember you writing that in the thing, and that was I had to look him up.
Yeah.
I had to look up Pedro Pascal, right? That's Oberyn Martell, and it was basically what you said is exactly what it was, that he won the battle. It's not like you were surprised that he died, but like in that one moment where he kind of wins, and it's like almost like you could feel the tension of him being so like braggadocious, and then not only does he die, it's so quickly, and his skull gets crushed in, and then attached to that is also Tyrion's fate, because we were more happy that he won, not even necessarily for the revenge of his sister, but more that Tyrion is, going to be able to live in Westeros or whatever, whatnot. So that's my first one, and then my second one, which I had to think about, because I'm not sure if I was so surprised, because I don't think I really understood it. But the very first death, Will, I had to look him up, the deserter from the very opening scene, how he gets away from the White Walkers, and then like the next scene we see him get his head cut off, and I know that my girlfriend had to explain that to me, and I always was really confused by that, and it always doesn't sit well with me. And I mean, that's probably the greatness of the show. So, right. That's my answers.
My biggest two were where I realized that there was never going to be any way for the show to reconverge with the books. And they both happen in Season 5. And that would be Mance Rayder and, who's the other one? Oh, Sir Barristan Selmy. Because if you didn't guess by that choice right there, both of those guys are still alive in the books, and actually pretty fucking important. So, like, in the books, Mance apparently is executed just like he is in the show, and then Jon finds out later that Lord of Bones guy, the one who was like the shaman who was wearing like the skull helmet and all of the finger bone armor. What's her name? Melisande saved Mance and cast like an illusion on him to make him look like Lord of the Bones, and so Lord of the Bones was the guy who got executed in his place. And when Jon hears that Sansa is alive and in the north, captured by Ramsay, which it's not, it's actually Jane, Roderick's daughter, who they pretended was Sansa to smuggle Sansa out of King's Landing. He sends Mance to go rescue her, so that whole Brienne plotline is occupied by Mance Rayder instead of Brienne. And then Barristan doesn't get killed in that ambush by the Harpy guys. And when Daenerys takes off on Drogon, he's left in charge of the city, and he realizes that the Harpy is actually the guy that she married, and manages to take him and like 3 gladiators out all at the same time, just in a fucking one of the most badass fight scenes in the entire book series. And so he's in charge instead of Tyrion when she's gone, and assumingly when she comes back. But with him being killed off early, we lose out on A, that awesome fight scene, and B, whatever the repercussions would be for that instead we get Tyrion making stupid decisions for the rest of the show at that point. So there you
go. All right. For me, if I'm given two, I would have said the Hound, because at that point I really did think that they killed off the Hound in a really, really stupid fucking way. It seemed so stupid, just so anticlimactic, that whole thing. But the one that sticks with me is actually Shireen Baratheon, and maybe it's just me being foolish, or I don't know, whatever. But in my mind, I just didn't. I don't know. I did not think Stannis was gonna go through and fucking sacrifice his fucking daughter. Like, I guess that's me being a fucking idiot, but I was just like, no, that's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. Oh shit, that fucking happened. So I don't know. That one's the one that I don't know. Whatever, that one just sticks with me as the one that, no matter how much I talked myself into saying it wasn't going to happen, it still fucking happened. So that would be my answer.
I can't believe I didn't even think about that. That is like, yeah, that's probably the craziest death. It's very depressing. Yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there. I didn't know who you were talking about, and then when you're like, Stannis killed his daughter, I'm like, oh my god, yeah. I don't even remember if I was surprised or not. It's just not a great. It's not a great scene.
No, nobody walks away from that scene like feeling good about life.
Yeah.
Now I just have a couple really quick things I wanted to ask, like, so because I just watched the episode that I fucking hate the most, which is the episode that ends with Brienne fighting the Hound. I'm really left wondering. I know this is different from the book, but was anything fucking accomplished by that? Like, at the end of the day, like, Arya just fucking nopes the fuck out of there and heads over to Bravos, I want to say, to go hang out with Jaqen. Like, was it just a scene just to have two big people fighting? Like, did that scene accomplish anything realistically from a narrative standpoint, in your opinion? Or was it just, hey, we're going to throw two big hosses in a fight, like it's the Royal Rumble or some shit?
You want me to go first, Chris? Because I feel like you have the real answer. I just have my opinion. So, yeah, when you mentioned it, I feel like maybe it was like, because I love Arya and the Hound together. Like, it's one of my favorite parts of the series. And then I think maybe it was just like a big way to kind of end that portion of the... But it did kind of go a little bit long, and then she doesn't kill the Hound and, leaves him to die. So I do feel what you're saying, but I feel like they wanted something big, and I think essentially it shows that, like, Arya's just going to go do her own thing anyways. Like, she doesn't need Brienne, and should she even trust her anyways, she's on her own.
Sure. It does make sense that they needed a big sequence so Arya could move on to the next chapter of her story arc or whatever. I get that. Chris, what about you?
Yeah, no, I agree.
What's the real answer?
I agree completely with Kevin.
Okay.
And they needed to give Brienne something to do because she hadn't had anything to do since Jaime took off and left her, and she was wandering around by herself.
She was with Podrick, and they didn't need to give her anything because that made her the most hated person in the fucking show, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I mean, you like the Hound.
Of course. He said the word cunt every 17 words. Usually fucking or stupid was the word before it. And it was funny every time. Can't help it. Alright, so the other thing that I came across, I don't even know what the fuck I was looking up. It's like, here's the top 10 characters from Game of Thrones that were secretly villains all along. And I don't want to get into a big discussion. I just want to know if you guys actually agree with... I'll throw out the 10 characters one at a time. I just want to know if you agree that they were secretly villains or if you disagree. We don't need to go anything further. All right, first one. Varys. Was he secretly a villain? Kevin. Are you muted?
I'm muted. All right. Varies from
Yeah, this
Game
is
of
all
Thrones,
just Game of Thrones
or...
people. It's an older video.
Okay, who's
The bald
Varys?
guy, the Master of Whispers.
Oh, so agree is that he's a secret villain.
Okay. Chris?
Disagree.
I mean, where are we starting as the baseline for like?
It's weird. I guess do you consider him a villain as opposed to a middle of the road character? I guess like on the morality scale.
Because like I mean, if we're starting from like season 1 where the Starks are the good guys, then yeah, Varys would be a villain. But if we're starting from, last season, Daenerys is fucking losing her mind, then
right.
Varys is a good guy. So
Okay.
neutral.
All
Could
right.
go either way.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Also, disagree. I'm not sure if that means that I think that he was an out and out villain or just a hero, or
it's not just because I liked him. Yes, he did some bad stuff, but like 95% of the fucking cast did bad stuff. So, all in all, I don't think his stuff that was quote unquote bad was nearly as bad as so many other characters. So I kind of didn't see him that much of a villain, especially if you go beyond like the first season or two. It's kind of Chris talked about. Second one, Jorah Mormont. Chris.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jorah. Yeah, he's a fucking villain. like he's a perv. I mean,
Straight up creeper.
creeper. He's a creeper.
He's a creeper for sure. And he lets people die so he can get closer to Daenerys. Yeah, I don't know.
Can you blame him?
No.
Can you blame him?
Yeah, I guess.
Well, she was 14 years old though, so that's kind of
Yeah.
creepy too.
Yeah,
That's awesome. That's hilarious. Oh my god. Yeah. Total creeper. And just like switches like, yeah, I'm gonna be team hot sister.
exactly.
Excellent. I think yes, I would classify him secretly as a villain. Yeah, I mean I know they tried to make him like, kind of come off like he was honorable, but no, he was just a fucking creeper.
Like think about the shit in the first place. Like he fucking was a slaver. Yeah, I mean that's what got him fucking exiled.
I mean the whole reason he got pardoned is because he was given the crown, all the info about Daenerys and stuff. So yeah, and then like whenever she's like, I got a big decision to make, and Jorah's like, what's the best thing for me to get with her? And then just manipulates everything. It's just kind of funny.
So secret villain, open creeper.
Next, I don't know. This one's confusing to me, but Roose Bolton, Ramsay's father. Kevin, do you consider him a secret villain?
Not a secret.
Okay.
He is a villain. I mean, yeah, definitely a villain. Bad dude, and he's got an even worse son.
Chris? Roose
sorry, who?
Bolton.
What'd you say?
Yeah, I don't
yeah,
think he's a
just-
secret villain.
Straight up. That's not a question. That's like you're right. He's not a secret villain. He's an overt
Not a
villain.
secret villain. Yeah.
But a
Straight
great
up
name.
piece of shit.
Roose is a good name, I think. I like it. All right, Ollie from the Night's Watch, the kid whose family got killed by the fucking Thens, and then he's helps kill Jon Snow. Chris, is Ollie a villain? Secret villain?
No, he's a fucking straight up dumbass.
A traumatized child.
Yeah, I mean, basically, like, he watched his parents get fucking eaten and then, decided that I'm gonna go fucking stab my buddy for reasons.
Yeah. Kevin, was he secretly a villain?
I mean, I guess there was some twists about some of the things that he did but no, I don't think he's a secret villain at all.
Yeah. I don't either. I mean, I think he's just a fucking traumatized kid that does fucked up things that traumatized kids would do given the circumstances. That's how I look at it.
Am I surprised that he stabbed Jon Snow? Yes, but I don't think he's a secret villain for it. I get where he's coming from.
Sure. All right. Next up, Catelyn Stark. Kevin.
Secret villain? No.
Yeah. Okay. Chris?
No.
Oh, come on. Of course she is. Of course she is. And it's not just because I hate her, but she was just a self-serving bitch. I didn't like her. So, I'm saying she was secretly a villain. This next one may have surprised me the most. Olenna Tyrell. Chris?
Yeah, I mean, she's straight up a villain. I mean, she's not like this is stupid questions because they're like, are these bad people bad? Yes, she's,
And did you know?
Yeah.
Wait, who is this?
The grandmother who poisons Joffrey.
Oh, is she a secret villain? No.
Yeah, I'm going to say no, too.
It's all about perspective, I think. With any of these characters, as Chris mentioned, the Lannisters were the bad guy. I mean, it's kind of the same with this, too. It's like, I like watching both sides, and, yeah. So, no, I don't think so. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to say no on this. I think this next one we can all probably agree with. Lysa Arryn, the mother of Robin, Queen of the fucking Moon Door, got killed by Littlefinger. Kevin, is Lysa Arryn a secret villain?
No, not a secret villain. I mean, she is a villain, she is a villain.
Yeah, it's right. I don't think it was a secret either, but I don't know. I thought this one was really a weird question.
What was her son's name?
Robin.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, she's not keeping her breastfeeding a secret, like...
And she was a fucking straight-up psychopath. Like, I just don't understand, like, the term secret villain does not apply here, as far as I'm concerned.
She was a bigger villain than Littlefinger.
Yes! Chris, are you in on this? She wasn't a secret villain, right?
No, like, this is... where'd you get this list? Because it's fucking stupid, man.
It's stupid as shit, dude. I just thought this would be good for entertainment value. All right, next up, Robb Stark. Chris?
No, he's just a fucking dumbass.
Yes!
He's a fucking horny 14-year-old. I mean, shit. I probably would have fucking got a bunch of people killed if I was leading an army at 14.
What you put
my
that in
testosterone was fucking off the chain back then.
When you put it in perspective that he's supposed to be 14, that changed everything. Because based on the show, given his age there, what I thought, yes, he was a villain because he should have known better. But knowing now that he was supposed to be just 14, no, he wasn't a villain. He was thinking it was dick. I don't know. Kevin, what do you think?
No. Not at all. I mean, because Walter Frey is the villain.
No, come on now. He's no more villain than Craster.
Oh, I don't know. I love Walter Frey. Everything he says is just fucking
despicable.
Vile. Yeah.
Yeah.
Vile wonderfulness.
All right. I'm going to skip to the number one before I go to the number two, because number two is the more interesting question to me. Number one was fucking Robert Baratheon. Kevin, do you think Robert was a secret villain because reasons?
No, I don't think he was a secret villain. We actually kind of like him at the end when he puts Ned Stark on the throne instead of his own, sons.
Yeah. He was like that lovable drunk uncle that was sometimes an asshole, but you couldn't help but laugh at him. I don't know. Chris, was he secretly a villain to you?
I mean, he wasn't secretly. He's a fucking... he's just a fucking fuck-up. Like, all of the problems that you can find in that whole series that follow all happen because Robert was a fuck-up.
It all stems from him being a fuck-up. Absolutely.
Like, he starts a war because, his girlfriend gets fucking kidnapped, although, like, they never fucked, so it's not even like, there was a claim other than just that they liked each other. I mean, then we find out that she was in love with the fucking other guys, so, it was all a completely one-sided fucking crush that he had that caused him to, lead thousands of people into their fucking death.
Yeah.
And he didn't even realize that his wife was fucking her brother. I mean...
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he's driving her to do it by the amount of, like, affairs that he's having. So I don't know. Like, Robert...
I'm going to change my answer, actually, after Chris is going on. I totally forgot that we get all that information later on.
Yeah, like, he's not a secret villain, and he's not even really a villain. He's just a fuck-up.
Yeah, he's a scumbag, for sure. And I think he is a secret villain, though, because we find out that, like, she wasn't really that into him. And that's, like, way later on, right? Way after
but he didn't, like, that part he didn't know, though. So he's just all like, oh, man, I'm the fucking bee's knees. Of course she likes me.
Oh, maybe Jon Snow's mom is the secret villain. Is that the next one, Ken?
No,
Am I getting ahead of myself?
The last one I think is a legitimately good question, but Chris is probably going to put it into some context where I'm just going to agree with him. So I'm going to ask Chris first, so Kevin doesn't have to change his mind afterward. Shay. Is Shay secretly a villain, Chris?
No. She's not a villain. She's literally just a fucking... what any poor person would be in that situation. Like, what kind of power does a prostitute have? So they're like, hey, you're going to fucking rat out Tyrion, or agree to, the things we say Tyrion was doing, or we're going to fucking murder you. And then his dad's like, oh, I'm going to fuck you too, or we're going to murder you. Like, she's literally left with no options. And, like, she even tells him, she's like, if we don't leave, I'm going to end up betraying you because that's the way things work in King's Landing. He's like, no, I'm smarter than everybody. We're good.
Yeah. I agree fully. Like, I've heard a lot of people call Shay, like, that being, like, the big heel turn, and I'm like, she didn't have an option. As a matter of fact, she tried her best to talk Tyrion into just straight up leaving and living a good life. She came off like she legitimately loved Tyrion, and he pushed her away and just said no to her all the time. So yeah, she turned on him because she wanted to live. I cannot fault her at all. Like, that's not a villain to me. But Kevin, what do you think?
Yeah, she definitely turns, but yeah, she is. You guys make good points. I would say no, though. Like, she's not a secret villain, but she does. There is that turn, but it's just because we.
It's only because
I like
as
Tyrion.
fans we like Tyrion.
We like Peter Dinklage as Tyrion. Yeah, when we love Peter Dinklage as Tyrion, and we just and when you're watching it the first time, you're like, holy shit! Is he gonna die? Like, are they really gonna do it? Because they fucking would.
Right. So I thought she was really the most compelling one on that list. And when I really thought about it, I was just like, I don't know. I think she did what she did to save her life. How can I fault her for that? So, okay, that's what I have. I know I apologize for the stupid list. No, I don't apologize. Whatever. Fuck everything. So, that's what I have.
Alrighty. Well, I think that should probably be it. So we don't have anything else we want to bring up. I mean, have you guys done anything since I know you hit a a couple days later talking with Kevin, I haven't really had a chance to take in any kind of media in the last week, so nothing to add on that front.
Yeah, me either.
I mean, realistically, I bought Abigail, so I'm maybe by the next podcast I will have watched Abigail and can be like, hey, I saw Abigail and this is what I think. But as for now, no, I have been watching Game of Thrones and playing Elden Ring a lot, so I feel like that's been my answer the past month. I live a very boring life, and I'm okay with that. So, oh, one last thing. People, if you're listening and you're interested in Hugh, don't fucking look him up online. There are so many spoilers out there. Just a fair warning, do not look him up. I looked him up earlier. Yeah.
Nice.
So, I think that's a fair warning. As a matter of fact, if you're watching House of the Dragon and you don't know somebody's name, find somebody that does like the show and may know the answer and just ask them. Don't look up anything online, because everything online is just going to be like, oh, by the way, this person's going to die, this person's going to fuck this person over, whatever. Like, there's just so many fucking spoilers. Like, you just don't look anybody up. That's my best advice for this show. That's all I got to say about that. So, yeah.
Well, I would say that's probably good advice too, actually. And on that note, Internet, take care. We'll talk to you for Season 2, Episode 6.
We choose fire.
I like Fireball candy.